Lafayette had a little fling with Pam. Alas.
You're gonna have to fight Tara for that.
I know, right? I think Alcide and Sookie should move in together. And then because he's dating his sister, Alcide and Jason should get together and just go on a vampire killing spree.
I take it you're not pro-vampire.
Sheila?
I would like to see what is the funniest thing that's ever happened on set for everybody.
The funniest thing?
Funniest thing to what?
That's happened on set.
Well, for me, this last season, I had that very short moment, I think it was in episode 5, where Arlene comes in screaming at Andy because his phone's going off and he's laying there naked. And I turn around, you know, and say, Andy, cheese and crackers, put some clothes on. Well, we did this thing where we were doing like an Austin Powers thing. So I was having to look at a monitor in front of, he was behind me, but I was looking at a monitor in front of me, trying to put my hand in front of his and we just could not stop laughing because there he is, God bless him, he is looking awesome, and but he's laying there and I'm trying to like not look, but I have to look in order to not look, and we just, you know, it was truly one of the most hilarious moments that we've ever had on set because, you know, it was awkward, but it was, the end, you know, product was pretty hilarious, I thought.
So I have to look in order not to.
I had to look in order not to look.
Second season, Anna and I, we come up and there's a meat tree. You remember the meat tree?
Oh, meat tree.
So there's a meat tree and then there's a portly man in the nude dancing around the meat tree. And we could not choose sleep because every time we walked up to see this man dancing around the meat tree, butt ass naked. And he fell one time. And it was over. We just couldn't. And every time she walked up, she was like, I was falling, I was crying tears. It was hilarious. Nothing has topped the meat tree and the dancing meat. I don't know how funny it was, but during season 3 at Lou Pine's Werewolf Bar, there were all of these actual bikers there and in the crowd. They were all the extras, and they were just talking. You know, you'd hear bits and pieces of these really hardcore conversations that they were having. And the scene that we were filming was the one where Debbie is initiated into the pack. And Anna and I were standing there when she was wearing her hooky-sooky outfit. And we hear this biker go, just start laughing. He's like, and I go, what's so funny, man? He goes, that's not how an initiation would go. And I went, all right, I mean, mind you, like, the guy had like a Gandalf beard down to his waist. And I was like, all right, Gandalf, dude, like, I'm white, like, what would an initiation be like? He's like, well, we'd get her up on that stage and then we'd all take turns on her. I looked at Anna and Anna was just held up in my arm. Those guys are for real. Real life werewolves.
That's ridiculous. You know, there was sort of a funny thing that happened this year. Where there was the scene where Steve Newland worked, Luna and I go in and we turn into mice and hide in his briefcase, and then Steve Newland comes in and we've turned into mice. Well, in order to do that, we had to, Janita and I were naked, and which I did like 3 episodes in a row naked. I didn't have any feelings. So ridiculous.
You're probably ahead of everyone in naked screen time right now.
I think I think this year I had to.
Yeah, you
because I
got
didn't
it.
even have a fitting one, for a couple episodes.
Somebody needs to do the pie chart or
I
something.
know, like, I figured out exactly how many scenes.
Yeah, how many?
But we had to turn into mice and then sort of get out of the way because they were coming in and it was the same shot. So Simon, our cameraman, was on us, and then we had to kind of duck down and then get out of the way for Steve Newland to come in. Well, it was really awkward, and I had to crawl away naked. So when Michael McMillian, who plays Steve Newland, walked in, there was a camera right there that he had to ignore, and then there was a naked guy, like slowly on all fours, slowly crawling away to get out of his way so they could do the scene. And I fully enjoyed that. Distracting.
That set that you were on for those episodes, the Vampire Authority, it looks so huge and elaborate on TV. What is the real set like?
It was. There were a lot of different rooms, and there was this pool that they made,
It was like a moat.
A moat of water that that was real, and it was pretty elaborate.
And I think somebody said a couple people fell in it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every day somebody fell. Like there was one person every day that walked into that.
Erica.
I was just wondering, what's one question that every time you hear, you just really get tired of answering it?
That's such a good question. For me, it's what would you want to turn into if you could turn into something? I was like, I don't know, a fish, a fly, I don't know. I don't really turn into them, so I don't,
I hate it when people ask me Team Bill or Team Eric, and I just say Team Terry.
Are you gay? I'll just say, why are you interested?
I don't really get tired. I mean, it's like people are like, oh man, don't you hate it when those people bother you? And it's like, do I hate it when people come up on the street and say, I love you? I hate it if they were like, you suck, I hate you. But the rest of it is just fun, like prowl, bite me, lick me, all that stuff. Come on, as long as we're all having fun here. Lap dance me.
You should sell some lap dances as well.
$30 in the main hall. There's actually a champagne room in back of the main hall.
What do you do for
There's an ATM machine in the lobby. I ain't putting that damn thong back on, so forget it.
I know a lot. Nelsan was like, he would want to have a caravan, be with her. Do y'all ever slip hints into the writers I could do this, or I'd be willing to do so and so, and they just kind of just let it into conversations, maybe you could let me do that, or just something in who I really love. I really love Preston, and they're like, oh wow, y'all would be really good together.
So the question is, how do you manipulate the writers into doing what you want? Good luck with that. Does that work for anyone?
It doesn't
No.
somehow work.
No, not really. stopped trying to, at the beginning, like Sam was saying, he wrote the thing, at the beginning I, would talk about some ideas I had, but that happened. But no, I think it's better just to trust the writers, because clearly they're doing something right if this show's been on for 5 years and y'all are still eating it up, so.
I think sometimes things are written certain ways, or they had an idea that maybe it was going to go this way. Like, I know that the sex scene in episode 5/8 was written in a way that was like, the two of them are going at it, and you can't tell which one is dominant or not. And I kind of looked at it and went, she weighs like 90 pounds. Like, they can write that, but really, like, let's see her pick me up and throw me. So then you get there and you're like, okay, like I'm gonna throw her into the dresser, I'm throwing her over there, so it's like sometimes in performance you kind of work those things out, so sometimes they're written a certain way, but you're like, okay.
Well, I was adamantly against killing Jesus. And so I went to Alan Ball's office. And this was my first time ever going to his office and be like, I think it should go down like this. And I'm talking. I had thought it out, and I had written some stuff down. I'm talking to him, and literally it looked like he was thinking about lunch. And he just went, "Okay, run it by the writer." And I said, "Okay." No, since nothing happened. Yeah, it made me feel something. I was against it. I was just against killing my boyfriend. Aww. I'm sorry, I still am passionate about that.
Erica.
So, you guys mentioned about being naked on the set. There's a lot of nudity. I think everybody except maybe Carrie has been naked.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Let's get Carrie naked.
Did you just forget it out the road and say, forget it, I'm just naked all the time anyway?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's, they give you robes and this and that, and you kind of take a robe, but I rarely, sometimes you put the robe on, sometimes just the boxers. What was weird was the cages with the people this year. Those people were really naked. There were no socks. There were no, anything. And that was odd, like being around that many naked people. Just hanging out, being naked. Because you feel like if you have a sock on, you still feel somehow dressed a little bit. Like, no, you're not. But with no sock, that was weird. But yeah, I don't know, you sort of just get used to it.
Well, especially if you're playing characters, there's a time and place to be naked and vulnerable. But if you're a shapeshifter or a werewolf, these are people who, wearing clothes is uncomfortable, and it is against their nature. So I think, when you're getting into that type of character, there's no room to be self-conscious, about it, because the characters wouldn't be. So I think, especially, last year was the true test. I went from True Blood to Magic Mike, back to True Blood, and in True Blood, I'm flying through the air with, stuff. That was jumping through the air.
That's right, because you did it. And then I did that pig fight, which naked. Somehow I beat up 3 guys naked.
It's like Eastern Promises with pigs.
But that was insane because I had to start that scene in a pen with real pigs. Those were real pigs. And I was like, okay, we're about to do this scene. So Sam get in the pen with the pigs, naked. And so I was A, worried about them biting me, you know, because they were 200 pounds. And then B, once the fight started, I was worried about those three guys stepping on my feet or kicking me anywhere you could think. And I actually got kicked in the mouth once, but I was just worried about them stepping on my feet, you know, fighting, you know, three guys with boots on, you know, when I'm naked. It was pretty intense. I don't know how I came out of the head on that one.
Sheila?
Each of you this year had some sort of your personal relationship that you had with your character, like Sam, Arlene, and Terry. We all had a character who had a problem relationship that you had to build back from in some way or another. How did, as a character and as the actor, like character, did you do that?
Well, I mean, you know, on TV shows and movies and stuff, you know, you have to have conflict, and or you know, the stakes aren't high, and you don't really want to watch these characters for very long. It would be kind of boring. So I don't know how much more Arlene and Terry can take, but they just keep piling it on us, and they get through it, you know. And with working with Todd, he's so great, and he's so fun and funny, but he's also like really focused, and we kind of have the same way of working. So we just trusted the writers, and we you know, would call each other after each script, you know, hoping that one or the other of us wasn't going to get, you know, taken over by this smoke monster. But we did have this fear, you know, at one point early on that they were actually going to split us up, that the writers were going to split us up. And, you know, we're a little codependent, you know. So, you know, I kind of liked that we got to go to a more serious place this year, because a lot of times, you know, we're just sort of there to serve up the comic, you know, relief. But it was cool this year, especially to see where Terry came from and why he was, you know, had such a hard time in Iraq.
Was that question to all of us? Or I couldn't even hear the question, actually.
What was it like building the relationship with Luna, for example?
Oh, okay. What was it like just building it? Well, yeah, because it was interesting with us because that season that we started, there was already something. I guess we'd already started the relationship, so we talked a little bit about that, like how we met and all that. Because the audience was jumping into that relationship that had already started. But that was intense because she has a kid, and you know, it was great for me, for Sam, because you got to see him, his side with children, and that he's he's pretty comfortable with children, and God, I can't say too much because I just can't spoil things. But I think he's very into the idea of having that, you know, that family, and I love working with Jeannie, and she's great. She's, you know, a great actress, and that's been a blast.
I loved working with Kevin. We had great chemistry. It was funny when we did the chemistry test, the audition. It was like we were friends for a while, and I fucking hated it when they killed them all. Because it literally, we had our own TV show. Every scene it was just me and Kevin, me and Kevin, me and Kevin, me and Kevin. Me and Kevin kissing, me and Kevin sitting in bed, me and Kevin. And we had become good friends. We both got, kid, loved his wife. I'd go to his house a lot. And then they took him from me.
Aww. Do you still talk to Kevin?
No.
Hey, Joe, what's it been like for you building this new relationship?
Which one? Got around a little bit this year. Got thrown up on. No, that's no. I mean, the Sookie. I don't know. Sookie thing's still out there somewhere, floating in the ether. That's still a possibility, I guess. I mean, I love working with Anna. I think the dynamic between Sookie and Alcide is really fun. She's this little thing that just kind of drags him off into adventures. And I also think it'd be interesting to see them reunite after, this packmaster, murderous kind of, that killer kind of comes out in him, because I think that changes somebody's DNA when you start doing that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And then of course, the thing with Ricky, which is interesting. But of course, when you say, "I want you to be my girlfriend," and someone says, "Maybe." It's a bit like saying, "I love you," and them going, "Great." Not exactly what you want to hear. But I think she does care about Alcide. I think she has the potential to be a good she-wolf girlfriend. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. He's got options. Plus, I don't know. I would think packmasters, they probably do pretty well in that department, I would imagine. In the books, they certainly do pretty well. I mean, they win Packmaster in the books, and then they bring this she-wolf out, and you're supposed to do it with her right there to, procreate and keep the race going. So I guess they cut that one out, but we did it beforehand.
We're just about out of time. Speaking of the books, Charlene Harris is getting ready to wrap up the series. Are you going to plan to read the last of the books?
I stopped reading the books early on only because our show just took such a different direction, and I was, sort of looking to the writers of our show to be the authority on these characters that we're playing. But I think it would be kind of fun to go back and read them after it's all over, and instead of using him as some kind of blueprint for what we do now. I mean, I think they're terrific, and she's, a wonderful writer, but I stopped after the third one, I think.
Yeah, I read the first four, and then they are so wildly different. And I think there's 12 of them.
10.
13.
13.
The last one is 13. Wow. So I don't know if we'll get to 13.
I read 7.
Wow.
Only because I couldn't stop. I mean, they're addictive.
I read 3 before my audition. I didn't want to read 1 and 2 because 2 is still on TV, and I didn't want to ruin season 2. So I just picked up with 3, read that before my audition, and then I would miss everybody every summer. So I would read. I read book 4 before season 4, and I was like, "Oh, there they all are."